Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast Battle Report. This time we have a continuation of the last attacker-defender battle. This time we have the Space Marines desperately trying to control the bunker and activate a safeguard beacon to warn the defending Imperial Guardsmen that the Dark Eldar have successfully broken through enemy lines. This will be a kill team game. Let's begin. Today we have my brother once again and his Space Marines of Iron Hands Chapter Tactics facing off against my Dark Eldar. This is a kill team game. 200 points to represent the desperate hours when the Dark Eldar have successfully broken across the enemy lines. If you haven't watched that battle report yet, it's on the battle report section of the channel. And this is as the confusion reigns. We have two key forces of the units that were left behind fighting to stop the beacon from being activated, which is what my Dark Eldar are trying to do, or the Space Marines trying to actively warn the defenders that the Dark Eldar raiding force has passed through. So we are playing mission number 5 of the Kill Team supplement, which is Secure the High Ground. At the end of the game, each of us will get 1 point for a model whose base is fully on top of that bunker. The winner will be the person with most victory points. Linebreaker, First Blood, slay the warlord or slay the leader, and break the enemy are all secondary objectives. If you haven't played Kill Team before, it's 200 points. You have to have at least 4 non-vehicle models, and you can pick units to be specialists as well as having a leader. So let's go over the small Dark Eldar raiding force. So last game I had some Mandrakes, Cavalry Warriors and Scourge participate in the battle. So my kill team is made up of said units. 5 Scourge with 2 Haywire Blasters. One of them is my leader and he is a Zealot. One of them is a Sniper and one of them has Hit and Run. While the Mandrakes, I have given one of them Hammer of Wrath and the other 4 over here. 5 Cabalite Warriors with Splinter Rifles are here as well for a total of 200 points. On to the Space Marines. Joaquin, what is it that we have here?
Well, here we have the remnants of the last defenders of the Imperial lines. We have the remaining snipers, the sergeant of which has ignores cover. The leader is a veteran sergeant with a combi melta, and he rolled and got gunning for promotion, so again an extra victory point if he personally kills the enemy leader. We have a relentless multi-melta and a preferred enemy marine with a scope on his bolter, and then just the remaining 4 marines.
Awesome. So we will be back after the kill teams have deployed on the battlefield. The kill teams have deployed. The Space Marines have deployed first with their entire army like this. Scout moves from the scouts and infiltrate from the scouts. The Dark Eldar army have deployed mostly out of line of sight to stop the Space Marines from doing lots of damage on their first turn, but they have infiltrated some sneaky Mandrakes behind enemy lines. So moving on to Space Marine turn 1. Will they be able to activate the beacon by the end of the game?
Space Marine first turn saw the army move up in its entirety. No shooting, nothing. Just moving up and running to get into better position as the Dark Eldar forces had deployed out of line of sight in order to stay safe.
The Space Marines moved up and ran. They are going die hard to try and save the Imperial Defenders. There's bonuses that will happen if the Space Marines are able to activate the beacon in our next campaign game. Meanwhile, the Dark Eldar prepare to assault the Space Marine position. And we move on to Dark Eldar. Turn 1.
The first Dark Eldar turn, I decided to keep most of my army hidden and to start picking off at the flanks with the mandrakes on his flank. This would allow me to split apart his forces and make him deal with the flank and hopefully draw him that way.
The Dark Eldar advanced. The mandrakes came out from the shadows, and their Bale Blast took out a Marine and one of the scouts, while the two Haywire Blasters from the Scourge moved out and took out one of these two scouts that were behind the hill. The Space Marines have taken some heavy casualties this turn. Let's see what they can do as they advance towards the bunker to warn the rest of the Imperial forces. It looks bleak for the Space Marines, but the heroes of the Imperium are born of times like this. Go.
The Space Marines decided to take the bait and maneuver towards the Dark Eldar forces that had infiltrated on the flank. Shooting was not as effective as the Space Marines would have hoped, but the maneuvering was very important as it would have made a difference later in the game.
Okay. Space Marines reorganized to put pressure on the flanking force, killing one of the mandrakes that was sneaking ever so close, and killing both of the Haywire Blasters that would murder the scouts at range. 3 casualties for the Dark Eldar, and the cacophony of pain begins to amount as all the Dark Eldar now have their 6+ feel no pain saves. We're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 2. We'd forgotten that this Mandrake could have taken a feel no pain save, as well as those Scourge, and he passed it. So he is indeed going towards the Space Marines.
The second Dark Eldar turn was time to spring the trap. The entirety of the Dark Eldar army moved up and started to engage the Marine forces at large. This caused quite a few casualties and began to overwhelm the Space Marines with potential targets in later turns.
Read a description of a...
The Dark Eldar have sprung out of hiding to launch onto the Space Marines that are trying to get to the bunker, downing the Specialist Ignore Cover Sniper and the Specialist Preferred Enemy Space Marine. What will the Space Marine retribution be on the third turn? Space Marines are 2 models away from being broken, which means that they would indeed have to start taking break tests to see if their resolve holds firm in the tide of pain and destruction that the Dark Eldar are wreaking on them. Will the Space Marines be able to take the bunker and warn their friends of the Dark Eldar's attack?
With things looking quite bleak for the Space Marines, they began to focus more on the objective at hand and began moving forces towards the bunker to try and activate and overwhelm the Dark Eldar forces later in the game. And this began to turn the tide.
Okay. The Space Marines are trying to salvage something, but their shooting is not going as planned. The Multi-Melta has slagged one of the Scourge, while one of the Mandrakes has gone down. And that is all the damage that has been done to the Dark Eldar forces, that are now moving on to turn 3. Let's see what the Dark Eldar will do.
Picking off the specialists was going to be of extreme importance in order to allow the Dark Eldar supreme firepower to hold true, and meanwhile baiting the Space Marines with some potential targets for shooting and close combat, as the mandrakes are very hard to hit, and using the Kablites late in the game.
The Hammer of Wrath Mandrake charged into this Space Marine, but did no damage. That combat is ongoing. We killed another scout and another Marine. And now the Space Marines are starting to take break tests at the beginning of turn 4 as the casualties amount. The Space Marine leader has charged into the Kablite warriors, holding them up in combat. Shooting saw the Mandrake shrug off all firepower with his cover saves, and that Scourge also soaking up sniper fire. So the Space Marines have once again been ineffective in the shooting phase, and we're moving on to the Dark Eldar turn 4. Will they seal the deal and take these Imperial dogs back to the Dark City?
This turn for the Dark Eldar was all about cinematics, sending the Dark Eldar leader to go and attack the Space Marine leader in single combat, and to see if a narrative could be forged as we used special dueling rules from the Crusader Fire supplement game.
I think that's it.
And the leaders meet in face-to-face combat. The two leaders are now locked in a deadly combat, so we will be using the supplement of Crusade of Fire with these cards that have some really cool rules in order to fight out a duel between characters. We have both picked our cards, and we both roll 2d6. So I rolled a 7.
Rolled a 9.
Okay, plus my initiative of 5.
Plus mine of 4.
Okay. Plus my modifier of plus 4.
Well, mine's a -2.
Ooh. So you take away 2 from yours. So it is an 11 to a very high number. So the Dark Eldar leader opens fire. And the major effect is I resolve a shooting attack from my ranged weapon. All to hit rolls automatically hit. So I have 3 shots from my Shard Kaibine as he opens fire into the leader and causes 1 wound. That is saved by the Space Marine armor.
My card was all-out attack.
While the
if I lost the roll-off, so it's got the minor, which is blind rage. I make my full complement of attacks, but only hit on 5s.
Oh,
So it's 2 attacks. Hit on 5.
the veteran sergeant opens up and hits
once
against the Dark Eldar character.
And wounds.
He wounds. Will the Dark Eldar character survive? Ooh, feel no pain. Yes. So we will draw another card from our hand. Round 2, fight, and we will roll our speeds. An 8
Plus 4.
plus 5.
And my plus 4 maneuver.
Mine is plus 0.
Plus 4 maneuver.
So you have a 15 to my 13. And the Space Marine lunges forward.
Open fire! I'm gonna choose to use my combi melta and shoot you with the melta gun, which auto hits and singes you to hell.
Let's see if his 6+ ghost plate saves him from a melta death. No!
Shit, death!
He is burned. He goes down as the Space Marine fights dirty. And that is the end of the epic duel. We go back to the game. The turn has ended. The Kablite warrior came back And we're moving on to the Space Marine turn 5. They are still breaking though, so let's see what happens. Okay.
So he's gonna move 3 up to here. Scout's gonna run like hell. Fuck this! 6. He's gonna go 6 all over here. That's all movement because there's nothing left.
No casualties on either side. As the fight continues over here, they pass their break tests. Moving on to Dark Eldar turn 4.
The 5th turn was the Dark Eldar taking position in order to later get Line Breaker, to start putting models on top of the bunker, and to put pressure on the final objectives in the game, although the Space Marines were proving quite tough to take down because of their high armor and toughness.
The Dark Eldar firepower kills another scout, while the Sergeant finally breaks free from the Cabalite Warrior, consolidates onto the hill to try and take on the Dark Eldar menace, moving into turn 5.
4. So, I'm gonna go this way. And I guess
break test?
Oh yeah. He's good. And he was out, so I'll test for him. He's good as well. That's the only thing I got left. 3 models. Okay, time for movement.
The Space Marines have advanced. A crack grenade murdered the Scourge, and the multi-Maltars charged into the Cabalite Warrior, and no damage was done there, while this combat has continued. And we're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 5. Could be the end of the game.
Okay, so back up. This is the one mandrake over here.
Huh?
There's that one mandrake right here.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck I want to do with him. That's it.
Okay.
At the end of Dark Eldar turn 5, the mandrakes have charged in, and I've lost 1 mandrake, enough to break me as well. I have line break over here, and there's only 3 Marines left alive. Let's see if the game continues.
It does.
It does. On to turn 6.
That's I go. Things in combat.
I know, right?
Yeah. Cool. Now movement.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so combats. He failed an armor save, and then his feel no pain saved him from a charging Dark Eldar warrior. This Marine finally got out of combat from the Mandrake and consolidated on to the building, and this combat is ongoing, and I failed 2 break tests. So those models have run away, sulking into the shadows. It's not looking as bleak for the Space Marines now that they definitely have the advantage in the game. Does this bloodbath continue? It is over.
Wow.
Let's count some points, and we shall return. Did the Space Marines do enough to hold off and to warn the Imperial forces of the impending Dark Eldar attack? And at the end, the tally is Dark Eldar, 1 point for First Blood, 1 point for breaking the enemy, and 2 models on the bunker at the end. The Space Marines, 1 point for killing the Warlord, another point because of the leader trait of killing the enemy leader in a challenge, having 2 models on top, and breaking the enemy for a total of 5 points. The Space Marines have succeeded in activating the beacon to warn the forces of the Imperium about the Dark Eldar force that broke through the defensive perimeter. And so continues our cool little thematic game. Joaquin, any last words?
Well, I think power armor really paid off right at the end. I mean, I have 3 Marines left, but I think just 3 Marines were able to break the Dark Eldar. So, luckily, we managed to warn about the attack. So we'll see how that carries on into our next game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Make sure you stay tuned for a fluff corner, as always. And I hope you enjoyed the format of this little Kill Team Battle Report. We will be back with more content. Make sure you check out the Facebook page, like it, the other videos on the channel, like Tacticas and stuff. We're on a quest to hit 8,000 subscribers. If you like the channel, just click on that little subscribe button right there. Really appreciate your support. And make sure you check out the draw video if you haven't already. Anyway, thanks a lot for tuning in. This is your grateful host, and we will continue our next chapter on SkaredCast.
Thank you very much for tuning in to another narrative battle report. So this scenario saw the Space Marine kill team successfully activate the distress beacon that will warn the Imperial forces of the Dark Eldar attack as they have broken through the Creator line. So the next game we'll see in this series, we'll see that come into effect. Now this is really fun. It shows that you can have a lot of fun with different rules mechanics and not just have to rely on larger games to play the game that we all enjoy. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. This is Skari, out.